too old for this here, so I'm just going to jump right into things. As a disclaimer, this is all wild speculation, and I cannot be held accountable for any of it. I believe the upcoming game, Light No Fire, is, despite Sean Murray's claims otherwise, directly related to No Man's Sky. To start with, despite the rough initial launch and growing pains of No Man's Sky, it has become a game with rich and well-developed lore and a very distinct identity. This is also true with the visual style and imagery themes in No Man's Sky. Specifically, Atlas is one of the most consistent and prevalent pieces of imagery in the game. It's a big red sphere surrounded by sharply angled architecture, a lot of triangles and diamonds. In fact, Atlas and the imagery of it have been featured throughout No Man's Sky since its inception. To me, it is far too much of a stretch to believe that a developer like Hello Games and a person like Sean Murray would choose to then put the same imagery into Light No Fire and have there be no connection between the two. While not identical, the red sphere featured in the trailer for Light No Fire is simply far too similar to Atlas to be a coincidence. So, moving on, this next part is going to be a little bit spoiler-ish. While it seems unlikely that anybody watching this would have not already played through No Man's Sky and its main missions to completion, I would like to give you a fair warning. If you haven't, there are some spoilers ahead. So, without getting into the details overly much, it is revealed in No Man's Sky that the universe is a simulation. It is a very old simulation running on hardware that is very close to breaking down. You know, 16, 16, 16, and all that mess, 16 minutes before the simulation fails. I understand the ARG has some slightly different explanations for the number 16, but within game lore, it means 16 minutes until the simulation fails. So, as we all know, the Atlas stations within the game are actually just software-based interface access points for the simulation. Places you can make changes to the simulation, reset it, all that within the simulation itself. I think we can assume that the imagery of Atlas within the simulation is going to be based on an approximation of its actual real-world self. It's going to look like the computer that the simulation is run on in the real world. Now, running with that, Light No Fire has featured heavily in its premiere trailer a alarmingly Atlas-like bit of architecture, giant red glowing sphere sitting on angular architecture. It's there in the trailer. Go watch it. Pretty blatant. I would say, what is the possibility that building architecture, Atlas-like thing in the trailer is that computer? What if it's the remnant of a civilization that collapsed centuries, maybe millennia ago? Does that explain why Atlas's creators are no longer maintaining it, and why the machine is close to failure? Does that explain why the inhabitants of the new game are more fantasy and medieval than sci-fi? Does that explain the setting of Light No Fire better? Just food for thought. Let me know what you think in the comments, and like and subscribe.